Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Now let me tell you something. There's a quiet power rising in you. You don't see it in the mirror every morning, but it's there. It's in the way you walk away from chaos and choose peace without saying a word. That's growth. That's strength. That's divine. You're not interested in being liked anymore, are you? No. You're done with the games, done with the masks. You're walking in purpose, not chasing applause. You understand now that the crowd can cheer you today and crucify you tomorrow, but your calling, your calling doesn't change. You've stopped needing closure to forgive. You've stopped needing an apology to move on because you learned that forgiveness is not about them. It's about freeing you. You realize that bitterness poisons the vessel that holds it. You're praying now, not just when things fall apart, but even when they're good, because you finally get it. Peace doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. You're learning to let go and let God. You stopped begging to be chosen. You started choosing yourself. That's major. That's what women of grace and grit do. You love without conditions. You give without losing yourself. You don't just wait for love. You become it, radiate it, lead with it. And that silence you've been enjoying, that solitude, it's not loneliness, it's transformation. You used to fill your days with noise, now you fill them with purpose. You sit with yourself and you like who you're becoming. That's maturity. You don't have time for gossip anymore, not because you think you're better than anybody, but because you've seen what small talk does to big dreams. You'd rather build than break. You'd rather heal than hurt. You're operating on a higher frequency now. You've been letting go of people who no longer grow you. That's not heartless. That's holy. That's pruning. That's preparing for the fruit God is about to bear in your life. Because not everything that comes with you is meant to stay with you. No, you're not perfect, but you're progressing. You fall, but you rise. You stumble, but you don't stay down. You cry, but you keep showing up. That's grace. That's faith. That's what makes you steadfast. And maybe the most beautiful thing of all is how you love, how you show up, how you speak. You've become a blessing just by being who you are, not because you've got it all together, but because you keep showing up with love, even after life tried to harden you. So keep going, woman of faith. Keep shining. Keep rising. Because every step you take with integrity, every choice you make with courage, every moment you lean into grace is proof. You're becoming a blessed and steadfast woman, and the world needs more of that. You choose peace over drama, not because life got easier, but because you got wiser. You've seen what drama costs. It robs your time, your spirit, your clarity. So now, when chaos knocks, you don't open the door, you don't engage. You don't explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You've learned that peace is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of self-control. There was a time you might have jumped in, raised your voice, matched their energy, fought for your place in a room not built for your peace. But now, you understand your silence speaks louder. Your distance is power. You know that walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because not everything needs your reaction. Not every battle deserves your presence. You've traded the exhausting need to be right for the liberating need to be well. You no longer crave the adrenaline of confrontation. You crave the stillness that comes when your soul isn't constantly in survival mode. You figured out how to protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. You filter who has access to your heart to your mind, to your peace. You don't let everyone in just because they knock. You move different now. You pause before you speak. You check your spirit before you check someone else. You understand that peace is a choice you make over and over, even when chaos tries to tempt you, especially then. You've built something inside you that drama can't reach. You're no longer available for the mess. You've outgrown the noise. Now you protect your peace like a crown, and that decision alone, that's one of the most powerful signs that you are growing into the woman you were always meant to be. You walk in purpose, not popularity, because you've learned that applause fades, but calling stays. There was a time when being seen felt like being validated, when the number of likes or the echo of praise felt like confirmation. But now you move differently. You're not chasing trends, you're chasing truth. You no longer bend yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown, or silence your voice to keep the peace in rooms that never had your best interest at heart. You understand that purpose doesn't always come with a spotlight. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's lonely, but it's always sacred. And you're willing to walk the path even when no one's clapping, because you've discovered a deeper kind of fulfillment. The kind that comes from knowing you're doing what you were created to do. That kind of peace doesn't need to be posted. That kind of joy doesn't need permission. You've stopped asking for directions from people who've never been where you're going. You no longer need the crowd to tell you you're enough. You've tapped into something higher, something eternal. You walk in alignment, not performance. You do what's right, not what's trending. Because purpose, it's not always popular. It doesn't always win the crowd, but it will always win your soul. You're not concerned with impressing the world anymore. You're focused on impacting it. You don't need a platform to be powerful. You don't need a stage to be significant. Your yes to purpose is louder than any cheer from the crowd. Because when you walk in purpose, you realize favor isn't found in fame, it's found in obedience. And the path you're on, it's not about being seen, it's about being sent. You forgive without needing an apology because you realize forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. It's not about whether they ever acknowledge what they did or whether they even understand the pain they caused. You've stopped waiting for the moment when they come back and make it right, because sometimes that moment never comes. And still, you chose freedom. You chose to let go. There was a time when the idea of forgiving someone who didn't say sorry felt impossible, like you were letting them off the hook. But what you've learned is that holding on to bitterness doesn't punish them, it poisons you. Carrying that weight started costing you your peace, your joy, your ability to trust again. And you decided you were done bleeding from wounds you didn't cause. Forgiveness became a choice you made for your own healing. You didn't need a long conversation. You didn't need closure. You didn't need to rehash every detail just to feel validated. You understood that healing doesn't always come with an explanation. Sometimes it comes with a quiet decision to stop drinking the poison of resentment. You forgave for your future because you knew you couldn't carry old pain into new seasons. You knew that your destiny was too important to be delayed by people who never saw your worth. So you forgave, not because they deserved it, but because you deserved peace. You stopped letting someone else's choices have power over your present. Now your heart is lighter, not because they changed, but because you did. You rewrote the narrative. You broke the cycle. You found peace in your own release. And that strength, quiet, holy, undeniable strength, forgive without the apology and still rise anyway. You pray more than you panic because you've learned that fear doesn't fix anything, but faith will carry you through everything. There was a time when the unknown used to paralyze you, when every unexpected turn would shake your foundation. You would overthink, stress, try to control every outcome. But somewhere along the way, you discover that peace isn't found in having all the answers. It's found in knowing who holds them. Now, when the storm hits, you don't run to the phone. You run to your knees. You've learned that panic makes noise, but prayer brings clarity. You stop, breathe, and surrender. Not because life got easier, but because your faith got stronger. You've experienced what happens when you place your worries in the hands of something greater than you. And now, instead of spiraling into fear, you lean into trust. Prayer has become your reset button, your anchor, your shelter. You've made it a lifestyle, not a last resort. You don't wait for everything to fall apart to talk to God. You stay in constant communion. You wake up with gratitude. You go to bed with surrender. And in between, you keep that connection open, not to get everything you want, but to remember that you are never alone. You've stopped needing control to feel secure. You've stopped chasing certainty to feel calm. Now your strength comes from knowing that even in the chaos, you are held, you are guided, you are covered. So when life throws the unexpected at you, you don't flinch the way you used to. You pray, you trust, you breathe, and in that quiet, sacred exchange, panic loses its power and peace takes its place. You stop begging for love and start becoming it, because somewhere along the way you realize love isn't something you chase, it's something you embody. You used to stretch yourself thin, water yourself down, shrink just to be chosen. You'd hold on to people who only loved the version of you they could control. You made yourself small to make others comfortable, thinking that if you just did more, gave more, proved more, maybe they'd stay. But not anymore. Now you understand that love that has to be begged for is not love, it's survival. And you're done surviving. You're ready to live. You stopped waiting to be loved the right way and started loving yourself that way first. You became the safe place you used to look for in others. You don't chase after inconsistent hearts anymore because you finally made peace with your own. You started nurturing your soul, feeding your spirit, healing your heart, not so someone else would notice, but because you did. You began to show up with love in how you speak, how you set boundaries, how you walk away from what no longer honors your worth. Love became something you give, not something you beg to receive. You became love in your patience, in your presence, in your strength. You give freely, but not foolishly. You love deeply, but not desperately. You know your love is a gift, not a transaction. And you've stopped settling for anything less than what aligns with the love you now carry within. You no longer wait to be chosen. You live like you already are, and you are. Every day, you choose yourself fully, boldly, beautifully. Not because someone else finally saw your value, but because you did. And that's when everything started to change. You embrace solitude as strength, not loneliness, because you've come to understand that being alone doesn't mean you're empty. It means you're whole. There was a time when silence made you uneasy, when the absence of others felt like rejection. You filled every space with noise, with people, with distractions, just to avoid sitting with yourself. But now you welcome those quiet moments. You crave them because in that stillness, you found your voice. Solitude has become your sanctuary. It's where you process, where you pray, where you grow. It's not isolation, it's elevation. You've realized that the most powerful transformations don't happen in crowds, they happen in solitude. That's where you shed the old you, where you confront your truth, where you rise without applause. You no longer feel the need to constantly be around people just to feel loved or seen. You see yourself now. You honor yourself. You've become your own best friend, your own greatest source of peace. You've stopped waiting for someone else to make you feel complete because you've discovered that everything you need has been within you all along. Solitude taught you patience. It taught you self-respect. It taught you how to set standards, how to say no without guilt, how to walk away from what doesn't align. And now you don't just tolerate being alone, you thrive in it. You use that time to reflect, to create, to heal. You found strength in your own presence, and that kind of strength can't be shaken. You walk differently now, not because someone else affirmed you, but because solitude did. It refined you. It reminded you of who you are. And in that space where loneliness once lived, strength now stands. Tall, quiet, unbothered, and full of grace. You seek growth, not gossip, because you realize that where you direct your energy determines where you'll go. There was a time when you got caught up in the drama, when conversations about others' failures, flaws, or mistakes seemed like an easy way to bond or pass the time. But as you matured, you began to understand that gossip only keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity. It doesn't move you forward. It keeps you tethered to things that don't matter, to things that drain you. You stopped looking for shortcuts through talking about others' downfalls or spreading rumors. You stopped indulging in meaningless conversations that serve no purpose except to distract you from the life you want to build. Now your focus is different. You're not interested in what others are doing or saying if it doesn't contribute to your growth. You realize that the most powerful conversations are the ones that push you to become better, not the ones that try to tear others down. You seek knowledge, wisdom, and understanding instead. You surround yourself with people who challenge you, who encourage you to elevate your thinking, and who inspire you to do the work needed for your own personal development. You choose to invest your time in things that will add to your life, not subtract from it. You know that every minute spent gossiping is a minute lost, and you can't afford to waste any more time. Now your conversations are filled with ideas, dreams, and plans for the future. Your circle is focused on growth, both individually and collectively. You know that the path to success isn't found in idle chatter or drama, but in pushing past the noise and digging deep into the work that transforms you. You let go of what doesn't grow you because you've learned that holding on to what no longer serves you only hinders your progress. There was a time when you tried to make relationships, situations, and even dreams fit into your life, even when they no longer aligned with who you were becoming. You kept people around even when they drained you. You stayed in places that felt familiar, even when they no longer felt right. You clung to patterns of thinking that were outdated, thinking that if you just worked harder or tried longer, things would change. But you realize that sometimes growth requires letting go. You've come to understand that not everything and everyone is meant to stay. Some things are in your life for a season, a lesson, or a purpose that's already been fulfilled. And when you let go of them, you're not giving up. You're making room for the new. You let go of toxic relationships, not because you don't care, but because you understand that your peace and well-being are non-negotiable. You release the expectations you once had about who people should be and started accepting them for who they were and who they weren't. You let go of self-limiting beliefs, the ones that told you you weren't enough, that you didn't deserve the best, that you had to settle. You shed those doubts because you realized that if you kept carrying them, you'd never move forward. You let go of the fear of being alone because you found that solitude is where you heal, where you grow, and where you prepare for the things meant for you. You've let go of what doesn't grow you because you understand that personal growth isn't about holding on to what's comfortable. It's about making space for what challenges you, refines you, and ultimately transforms you into the person you're destined to become. You're not perfect, but you're progressing because you've learned to stop chasing an idealized version of yourself and start embracing the process of becoming. There was a time when you thought perfection was the goal. You thought you had to get everything right all the time and that anything less was a failure. But now you understand that perfection is a lie. It's an illusion. It's the enemy of progress. And you've made peace with the fact that imperfection is a part of your journey. You've learned to celebrate progress over perfection. You no longer beat yourself up for mistakes or setbacks. Instead, you've started seeing them for what they are: lessons. Every misstep, every failure, every flaw is simply an opportunity to learn and grow. You're no longer afraid of falling short. You're excited by the chance to improve, to refine, to become a better version of yourself. You've stopped comparing your journey to others because you know that everyone's path is different. You understand that just because someone else is ahead doesn't mean you're falling behind. Your progress is your own, and it doesn't need to look like anyone else's. You've stopped needing instant results because you've learned that real growth takes time. It's about showing up, doing the work, and trusting the process, even when you can't see the outcome yet. You're not perfect, but you're progressing. You've made peace with the fact that growth doesn't happen in a straight line. Some days you take 2 steps forward, some days you take 1 step back. But the key is that you keep moving. You've stopped holding yourself to impossible standards and started giving yourself grace. You're evolving, and that's enough. Every small step forward is still progress, and you're proud of every one of them. You lead with love, and it shows, because you've learned that love is the most powerful force you can bring into any situation. There was a time when you thought leadership was about authority, about control, about having all the answers. But now you understand that true leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most compassionate. It's about inspiring others, not through commands, but through the example you set. When you lead with love, you inspire those around you to be their best, because love isn't about demanding, it's about nurturing. You've stopped trying to lead from a place of fear or insecurity. Instead, you've tapped into the strength that comes from showing up with vulnerability, with empathy, with an open heart. You've realized that love and leadership isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the ability to listen, to understand, to care, and to guide others with kindness. People don't follow you because of your position, they follow you because they feel seen, valued, and respected in your presence. You show love through your actions. It's in the way you speak to others, the way you make them feel heard, the way you show up when they need you most. You're the one who lifts others up, who encourages them when they doubt themselves, who believes in their potential when they can't see it yet. You've learned that leadership isn't about what you say, but what you do. It's about creating an environment where love, respect, and support are the foundation. You lead with love, not because it's easy, but because it's the most effective way to truly make a difference. And it shows in how people trust you, how they respect you, how they feel better just being around you. When you lead with love, you create a ripple effect that changes everything. So now take a step back and look at yourself, not with critical eyes, but with reverence. You are not who you used to be. You're not trying to be perfect, popular, or praised. You are becoming steady, whole, unshakable. You've learned to choose peace over drama, purpose over popularity, and prayer over panic. You've let go of the noise and picked up your crown, not out of pride, but out of understanding. You're not begging for love anymore because you've become it. You've stopped clinging to what holds you back and started walking boldly toward what helps you grow. You lead with love, not ego. You forgive without closure. You seek elevation, not empty conversation. You're no longer afraid of being alone because now you know solitude is where God speaks and strength is built. And even though you're not finished, you're faithful. You're moving, you're growing. You are becoming the kind of woman whose presence is a blessing, whose peace is a protest, whose love is a legacy. You are not perfect, but you're progressing. And that right there, that's more than enough.